let's go to KwaZulu-Natal now, where we find my colleague Ayanda Mhlongo. Ayanda, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks indeed for your time. KZN was always going to be the province to watch, and I cannot imagine the interesting conversations that are being had coming out of KwaZulu-Natal in light of what we've seen, in light of what we've seen the MK party do in that particular province. What are you hearing on the ground now?
Griselda, very good afternoon to you and good afternoon to our viewers as well. To say, Griselda, that it's the talk of the town, I think would be an understatement. In every corner of the province, people are talking about these results and the shock that has come with these results. Of course, in the build-up to these elections and knowing the support that former President Jacob Zuma has always enjoyed in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Many people were thinking that he was likely to make some sort of a dent in areas where he did enjoy quite a bit of support, but the results have certainly shocked and in fact maybe devastated some of the political parties. And to think, Griselda, that the African National Congress that was leading the province has now come in third, even behind the Inkatha Freedom Party. I mean, Inkatha as well is another political party that in this election had really pulled out all the stops to ensure that they win this election. They were certain that they were going to be able to regain control of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but it wasn't to be. And in fact, if you go down, Griselda, and you look at the results from the Mkhonto party, they have made inroads across the province of KwaZulu-Natal, in ANC strongholds, in areas where the DA had a considerable amount of support, but also even in areas where the IFP for many, many years have always enjoyed support. We've seen the Mkhonto party growing in those particular areas. And of course, Griselda, while this discussion and the shock is still sinking in with a lot of people in terms of these results, focus is also now shifting to what then happens next. What is going to be of the government of KwaZulu-Natal? Who is going to work with who in the province? That is the big discussion now. And we are coming to you from the Results Operations Center here at the Durban ICC, where political parties have started to make their way through here for tonight's results announcement from the province of KwaZulu-Natal, where the IEC will of course be announcing the preliminary results, but they'll also then be taking us through in terms of the seat allocation, how many seats each of the parties that have fared well in this election, how many seats they will then again in the provincial legislature. Today, Griselda, this is just, and I'm seeing a lot of the political parties that are here and some of the political party leaders, and you can just tell their concentration and their focus is just not on what is happening here tonight. What is the big for them is these discussions that we understand have started outside of these walls, where the politicians are now meeting to discuss who is going to be working with you. But let me just quickly bring in my guest, political analyst, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, just to give us his insight now. What is going to happen next and what can we expect as these negotiations between the political parties, which are not going to be easy in this province, considering the history as well, Griselda, with all these political parties. Yes, there has been working relationships. The DA has been working with the IFP in local government. We've seen the ANC has also for many, many years been working with the National Freedom Party, but some of the relationships have been shaky at times. Prof, we now know, it's all clear now, who is taking over the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But the big thing here for us is that there is no party that has secured an outright majority. These parties now need to sit down and discuss amongst themselves who they're going to be able to work with who. We are hearing already from the national leaders of the political parties. It's sort of trying, becoming clearer which parties might not work with each other, or it would be rather difficult for those parties to work with each other. But look at the picture in KwaZulu-Natal. It's a province that is quite complex, Prof. How do you see it going? Who is likely to work with who?
Thanks, Ayanda. KwaZulu-Natal is a very interesting province, as we have just alluded. The problem here is that you have a new kid on the block which has decided to upset everything that used to be there. And then secondly, you have the IFP. The ANC and the IFP have worked together before, so they do have a history of a working relationship. But with the MK party, it's a new kid on the block. It has never worked with the ANC. it has never worked with the IFP, it has never worked with the NFP. So basically then it means that they are starting from scratch. Now the other parties will have to position themselves such that they will be in a position to meet the MK party halfway, because as things stand at the moment, it means that the MK party is at an advantage position and then it can decide who to work with. But then all these political parties need one another. If you look at what we normally refer to as the Grand Coalition, then it means that if we were to have the MK party and the IFP, which came second, then the deal is sealed. Then you can proceed with that. But then if that doesn't work out, because the problem with the IFP also is that it is, as you correctly said, it's working with the DA in KwaZulu-Natal, it's also part of the multi-party charter. So for them to take a decision, they will first have to go back and convince members of the multi-party charter, this is the decision we've taken, not because we wanted to, but because we have to. So there are more discussions that need to happen. When it comes to the DA, that is very tricky, because in terms of policy positions, the DA and the MK party are far apart. When you look at issues like affirmative action, look at triple BEE, you look at all those policies that are said to be pro-black in the main, then of course they are not likely to find each other. And most importantly, on the land issue, without even including the NHI, just talking about the land issue, they are 2 worlds apart. So it's going to be difficult. But it's easy to find a relationship with the IFP. And then with the ANC, they could work together, but there's been more mudslinging between the two during the campaign. One of them will definitely have to eat a humble pie and then say, we are sorry, and then let's move forward, not for our sake, but for the sake of the province.
I was just looking at the possibilities, Prof, that even though the MK party has emerged as victorious in this election, but they could still be the opposition party if, for example, the DA, the IFP, and the ANC decide to work together and form a coalition. The MK and the EFF, which the leaders have said that are more amicable to work with each other, if you put together those numbers, they might not be able to come together. Then, Prof, you mentioned something quite important, and this now speaks to the people, that the parties are not going to decide amongst themselves who will work with who, but what about the people that voted for them? We know that coming into this election, particularly in this province, there were certain communities that were adamant. They would, they wanted to see, change in some areas, and so the people who voted and the supporters of those respective political parties, where do they come into this whole thing? Unfortunately, they're not considered when the leaders of the party decide who they work with who.
The mistake that politicians make is that before they start campaigning, they don't get a mandate from the electorate with regards to coalitions. Everyone goes there saying, we're going to win this election. You would have heard the ANC saying that it's going to retain its majority. You would have heard the DA saying that through the multi-party charter they're going to take control everything. You would have heard the EFF saying they're going to paint the union buildings red. They didn't think about the possibility of not making the threshold 50+1 threshold and therefore being forced to form a coalition. Only now that they are doing that, and the Constitution says you have to do that within 2 weeks. And that is too little time for you to go back and get a fresh mandate. What they are supposed to do, this must be a learning curve. What they are supposed to do is, before the campaign starts, you go to the electorate and then you say, we are going there to win this election. In the event that we don't win, who would you like us to work with? So that by the time you come to these coalition talks, you already have a mandate from your constituencies. Because right now, that is the nature of a representative democracy. It's politicians making these boardroom decisions without the masses.
Of course, around the concern, Prof, there is a lot of concern around stability as well. I mean, there were some discussions this morning as well after the MK party media briefing last night in Pretoria, where some people are viewing what was said by former President Jacob Zuma as possible threats. There have been messages that have been going around saying that people are gathering in certain areas. So I guess that should be worrying as well during this time, particularly in a province like KwaZulu-Natal, where we are known for, incidents related to political intolerance and political instability.
Absolutely, Ayanda. My view on this issue is that you have the 26 political parties that feel aggrieved, saying that a lot of things went wrong during the election. So do listen to them, because they are the ones who made these elections possible in the first instance. Then on the other hand, we have the IEC, which has a constitutional mandate to deliver the elections, and those results should be free, fair and credible. So that is their mandate. And now they don't find each other. So for me, what would have happened, because the Constitution says 7 days after the results have been announced, then you constitute government, or you have to release the results within 7 days. But it doesn't say on the first, second or third day or on the 7th day. So which means the IEC still has a room to maneuver. If I were on the side of the IEC, I would have said, okay, you say you are not happy about certain things, bring us all the information using Section 55, as should be the case, and then use Sunday and Monday to go through all those grievances, and then you satisfy yourself that you have done your job as the IEC. You then call those aggrieved parties together, and then you say, this is what we found, and then you take it from there. Because you'll still be able to release the results on Tuesday or Wednesday, and you'll still be operating within the confines of the law. So, but then, of course, the IEC says that there are many other factors they are considering. The staff that is working tired, like you and I are, without having not slept for a couple of days. But, of course, you weigh those options. What will be better? For people to work tired as they are, or for you to have an untenable situation where there will be chaos in the country? We have to do a balancing act in that regard.
Well, still so much, Prof, that's going to be happening even after. I mean, we're done with the elections. The results are now going to be out. But, Griselda, there is still so much that is going to be happening, I guess, across the country, more importantly here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal over the next couple of days. I was just looking over my shoulder and I see the leaders of the ANC led by the chairperson, Asboni Soduma, and the deputy chairperson, Nomagugu Smalane, who are here. We haven't seen the leaders of the African National Congress during the time that we have been here. We did get a word from the secretary of the province, Bheki Mngomezulu, who said that the party has conceded defeat. They accept their failures and the mistakes that they made, and they are willing to get into a working arrangement or coalition with a party that will ensure that there is a stable government over the next term. Also, very importantly, Griselda, as I was saying to Prof, we're discussing with Prof the issue around security in this province. We have the assurance from the Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, that the police officers that were deployed to the province are still out and deployed in key strategic areas. As we know, there were over 17,000 police officers that were deployed, and certain areas were identified as high-risk areas, and so police officers are still deployed in those areas until this entire period. The celebrations have been done, the coalitions have been announced, and hopefully the political parties are hoping that they are going to be able to find each other. And over the coming days, Griselda, we will then find out who is going to form part of the new government here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So certainly very interesting days ahead. Griselda?
Absolutely very interesting days there, Ayanda. We'll certainly be watching the province very closely. But just before I let you go, Ayanda, are there any concerns at this particular stage from a security point of view? I heard you say that there are already messages that have been circulating about gatherings taking place somewhere. So police would certainly need to ensure that they remain on high alert, because some of these messages are often spread on social media as well as via WhatsApp, for example.
Yes, absolutely, Griselda. That's exactly where these messages were circulating via WhatsApp, informing community members to mobilize and to gather. We have not had, we've checked with community leaders in the areas where these gatherings were supposed to be taking place. Many of the community leaders are saying that it's false information. However, the police have assured the people of this province that they are on high alert. They are following information as it's been coming through. The provincial JOC is still operating, where police officers are getting information, of course, working with their key stakeholders from the intelligence services, from government departments, the Metro Police as well, also working with private security as well. So they are still very much on high alert, Griselda, as I was saying, over the next couple of days, and particularly once the coalitions are announced, the police are still going to be around to ensure that they maintain the stability here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.